Hello, everyone. There's no music yet. That's okay. Here we are. I think we still got something like 6 hours left. And of course, there's gonna be a little bit of a commercial, but that's okay. And actually, no, more like 4 hours, a little under 4 hours. Okay, now it is time for me to tweet. And I will tweet. All right, sorry, I am in the process of tweeting. Hello, how are all of you? If you have not already, consider answering the question of the day. If you don't know what a JRPG is, say so in the chat and I will explain. Oop, 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 oop. All right. Howdy. Mystic Quest. I think we talked about this without the prompting of the question, but that is cool. I really like Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Let's see, let me tweet. Come watch me plan my 8 games a week. Haha. Hashtag TTRPG. Set this here. All right, there we are. If someone else likes it, that's great. It even has Pazuzu as a boss. That is absolutely correct. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest has Pazuzu. It also has Jiminy Cricket. It's got like an ice golem. What are some of the other monsters? Like, it's nothing exciting. It has like a T-Rex skeleton. But anyways, my absolute 100% favorite thing about Final Fantasy Mystic Quest is the music. The music is like unironically amazing. Sorry, I'm going to turn the music, speaking of music, just down just a wee skosh. All right. But there we are. We have tweeted. We have an audience. We're streaming. Hello, how is everyone? There's someone in the chat room named Six Flags Magic Mountain. I don't know if you're a bot, but if you are, that's a-okay by me. but I want more non-bots. All right. So where were we? I answered a ton of questions last game or last session, last stream, whatever. All right. Got a lot to talk about today. Well, we're gonna start out because I remembered we're gonna talk about Lorathorn and where my name came from. So originally, my name was very fantasy in that I put apostrophes just wherever I felt like it. But it was I was trying to think of something very Lord of the Ringsy to name my elven wizard character, and I figured Lord Athorn. Uh, Actually, no. I think it was just Lord Athorn, and that was the name of my character initially, and it just kind of turned into Lorathorn because I didn't want to keep doing the Viggo Mortensen Lorathorn. But that was my character. In a game that we played, I almost always run games, but this was a game that I played where he was an elven wizard, sibling to many princes and princesses in the elven city state of Keonan. And so this was in Galarian, which is the Paizo setting for Pathfinder. But our dungeon master had a really good idea of just making all of us elves. We were all siblings, and our father was the king of Keonan. And so we were a royalty, and we had to do all these things for the country of Keonan to make sure that it wouldn't fall to the forces of evil. At one point, his father abdicated. There was a quick round of nominations. Oops. And the only two nominated were Lorathorn and shoot. Let's see, my little sister's middle name is Kenaris, a Klingon-esque abbreviation of Kira Nerys. That's really cute. That's a really cool name. And that's way better than my middle name, which is nothing. I have no middle name. Which is unique in its own way. I don't not like it, but people really look at me weird when they realize I don't have a middle name. I'm like an aberration. But so anyhow, Lorathorn and his sister, and I'm racking my brain trying to remember which was one of the other players who was playing. And so his sister was, it's the opposite of people with dozens of names. Yeah, absolutely. But Elvin's sister was a worshipper of a chaotic elven goddess of lust and hedonism. And so the sister, Viala? I think it was Viala. But this sister was doing all kinds of radical things, and Lorathorn didn't trust her at all, like even a little bit. And they had sparred a handful of times, in like socially, as far as ¿Qué hubo de ella? Ya llegó el desmadre, hijos. Hello, Looney. Glad to see you here. So the elven sister was a worshipper of a chaotic elven goddess of lust and hedonism. Not Slanesh, but I mean, anyways. And she was the only other person who wanted to be Queen of Keonan. And so literally the only reason Lorathorn nominated himself to be king is because he didn't want to see her be queen. And almost unanimously, I say almost unanimously, it might have been unanimous, that Laura Thorne was voted in because nobody else trusted his sister. And so that was how um, unanimously voted Laura Thorne into office of king. And that was how I became the Elven Wizard King in that game. And I'd never heard of anyone else ever having played an Elven Wizard King, and that sounded really cool. When I had to pick a new handle after like an old AOL handle I had had for like 15 years, I was ready for a new one, and that was a really good one. And so I'll go by Laura Thorne or I'll go by Elven Wizard King. It's a lot easier to spell Elven Wizard King, so I do that on most of my socials. Um, but yeah, that's the story. There's a lot more to it, and I think there's a shoot, what is it called? There's like an Obsidian portal page all about our adventure out there somewhere that I'm gonna have to go back over, and I know that I'll find the characters there. And then I didn't pick this, but Laura Thorne Adasril was our family name. Let's see. Now it's bugging me, and I'm gonna have to find. Oh well. I'm looking for the Obsidian portal. Yeah, there we go. Oh man, this was like an old Pathfinder character too. So it was wild. I think I had a character sheet and two different little like half-size sheets that I would staple together with all of my spells and summon animals. Vanya. My sister's name was Vanya in that game. And I'm looking now through all of these characters, and holy cow, it was really interesting, just all of the different people who are here. Oh man, that takes me back. That was almost 10 years ago that we played that game. Oh boy. Well, that's the story of Laura Thorne, the Elven Wizard King. But okay, Monday we haven't had a chance to finish all of the stuff that we needed to finish, and let me see. I still need to do this, and I'm slacking. But we didn't get to play last week so much, and we didn't get to play today because today was not a school day. It was a work day, but not a school day. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. Okay. So the Tuesday game went really well, and I got a lot of compliments for it, and I was really excited. But people were really in favor of the way that I ran the 40k game, and it went over really well. The best part about it is that I didn't use any of my plans, which was really funny. We had one player who hadn't been at the first session, and shoot, actually, hold on one second. Well, I'm going to do two things. Number one, if you want to hear the session in question, wait, no, this is something else. Man. Why am I... Huh. Okay. No, I'll do that a little bit later. Funny story, when we first interacted, I was like super sleep deprived and my dumb brain misread your username as 11 Wizard Kings. I'm reading from the chat. 11 Wizard Kings, and I was like, wait, hold up, why 11? That's a really specific number. It took me 5 whole minutes to realize I'd read it wrong. I'm not very bright, I know. No, that's amazing. I love that. I think for April Fool's Day, I'm going to have to change my Twitter handle to 11 Wizard Kings. I really like that. Um, what happens if I... Nope, that's not working either. Anyway, well now, what's the name of the 11th Wizard King in the line now? Well, thankfully I haven't had any issues with my Wizard Kings dying. And if I did, he'd get cloned because that's what a good Wizard King does. They clone themselves. But anyway, so back to the planning. One of the players hadn't been at the first session, and he showed up at the second session. So he was asking questions like, "Hey, I look for this," or "Can I investigate that?" And in short order, we went from landing on the planet that they were supposed to land on to kind of rewinding just a tiny bit and following a plot of like basically a dark elf cult that was on board the ship, and one conversation with a vending machine or a food processing machine later, which was hilarious, by the way. The group was able to follow a young lady home to her father being the maybe lead cultist, they think, of the Dark Elves, and a heated melee ensued in which they destroyed both the cultist and some uh, warp creatures that he summoned. But it was a great session overall, one that I did not at all plan, and that for the improv of it went very, very well. And so I actually don't need to plan anything for this session because we didn't even get to it. But let's see. That reminds me of a manga I have lost track of. Guy was isekai'd into a world and he became a vending machine. I think that's literally what it's called. It's like I came to a fantasy world as a vending machine or something. But yeah, I've been I've been meaning to look at some of those other isekai series. But in all seriousness, though, the vending machine thing or the food processing machine thing was really interesting because one of the characters is a Skitari, and they have the ability to speak with the machine spirits that kind of run everything. And I just took that opportunity and ran. Also, today's question of the day is brutal. I'm trying to come up with just one, and I'm going full blue screen of death. Okay, let me make this simpler. How about what's your favorite JRPG on the Game Boy Advance? Because if I said PlayStation or Saturn or Super NES, I don't think there's a good. Golden Sun is phenomenal. Golden Sun restored my faith in Nintendo. I skipped the N64 effectively because Quest 64 was utter garbage. I never played Aiden Chronicles or whatever that other game was, and I was waiting. I was waiting so much for an RPG, and then Golden Sun came along on the Game Boy Advance, and I was like, "Thank God, we're finally back." Like I can believe that Nintendo will have JRPGs again. But anyhow, so yeah, machine spirits are a thing in Warhammer 40k, and the cult of the Omnissiah. They are people who will replace body parts with machines, and have the ability to speak with machine spirits. I don't know what the science is behind that, but it's really neat and it works out really well. You know those NPC Wojak memes where the Wojak gets the little loading symbol on his forehead? That's me right now. Oh my god. So, I guess I'm just going to write down a little ditty about last time. Last time on Dragon Ball Z. Last time, group had Skitari speak to a sassy food processor that led them to a cultist, and they killed the cultist, a few warp creatures, and recovered an Eldari soul stone. And that's very truncated, that version of the turn of events. I'm sorry, I keep looking for something and not finding it. Give me one moment. I might just have to look for it at the end of the episode, but we'll get there. All right. But yeah, that's a real shortening of what happened, and at some point I'll post I'll probably post on Twitter the episode that we recorded, because it's a podcast now. I'm just gonna write that. It's a podcast. So if you want to come and listen to our shenanigans, it'll be posted sometime after tomorrow, after every Tuesday. I'll either do it that night or I'll do it like the next day. But we are doing a podcast of our 40k game because I'm loving it and I want to kind of get a little bit more notoriety for the games that I run. So that should be fun. But yep, we're still with all of the business here. Let's see, people on the ship. We can start kind of, let's see, prominent figures. Yeah, I can start deleting some of this stuff because we're kind of past that. I'm going to keep the Dramatis Personae, and we'll probably start adding the actual characters' names like, shoot, I cannot remember their names, except for a handful. So the Eldari Ranger is Io, like the moon Io. The Harlequin is Bones. Oops. One Space Marine Scout is Alexander. I do consider Pokemon as a JRPG. It has every element that you would want out of a JRPG. It's non-standard in that you kind of... Well, no, I shouldn't even say that. You catch the characters that you use, but it's there was a precedent for that. And I want to say that the Atlas series of the Shin Megami Tensei games initiated that. As did like the Dragon Quest Monster series. I don't know which of those two came first. On the GBA, well, that's one's going to go with a tie between Tales of Fantasia and Final Fantasy V. Didn't play a lot of JRPGs on the GBA, to be honest. In general, I guess it'd be a tie between... Whoa, there's a Samurai Showdown RPG? And Chrono Cross. That makes a lot of sense. Also, how do you feel, Looney, about Tales of Fantasia and its various ports? Of the ways that you've played Tales of Fantasia, what's the best way to play it? And there's the second Space Marine Scout, whose name I cannot remember, the Skitari whose name I vaguely remember starts with a V, and the orc whose name starts with an S. I'll go back over that and kind of figure that out. We're still kind of hitting on some of these. I don't mean hitting on literally. We're still kind of touching upon some of these NPCs. And like, I just want to make these more prominent so that when I come back to these notes, I kind of remember them. I'm going to keep the Torquemada Space Armada because I really love that. I think we all know what the Battle Sisters are now. We're going to move the Torquemada Space Armada up here. Let's see, the Velden family. Oh, goodness. Pokemon the original always made me get feels for Final Fantasy Legend 2, where you recruit your team and give them abilities based off their equipment and stuff. Yeah, I never played Final Fantasy Legend 2, although I really want to. They put out a collection on the Switch that I might need to get at some point soon. But I'm really hoping that they remade Final Fantasy Legend 1, 2, and 3. The first one was a WonderSwan game, if you know what the WonderSwan is, and then the second and third one were on the DS, I think. But they look fantastic. Those remakes are actually really amazing. Yes, there was a Sam show. I'm reading from the chat. RPG, and it got ported to PS1, I think, and it's never getting remade or really re-released again because the porting and localization work is apparently hellish and nobody wants to do it. I mean, if somebody wanted to remake it in RPG Maker or something, like, why not? Could we do that? There's enough people out there with enough know-how to do that, and I always like feel a special disdain when they're like, we can't do that. That's impossible. Meanwhile, and that's not on you, Looney, at all. It's just I feel like there's this like real give up attitude from people to try and port stuff when computers had to remake Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2, I can't remember. And other games have been like the code is lost, or and they've had to like redo all of these things by hand sometimes, and it's like it's possible, but dear God, like sometimes it's I don't know. Like I know that these things should not be that difficult, but like what is difficult is these companies' desire for money. So if it's not going to be super profitable, they just don't do it. Konami's the worst about that, though. Shoot. Who is messaging me all of a sudden? Okay. Where were we? Licensing. So I don't know what the status of SNK is right now, but it shouldn't be especially hard for them to do Samurai Showdown RPG. They might have licensed the game out to another company, but usually they hold that pretty close. It honestly shouldn't be all that difficult to do. All told. Ugh. I don't know why I've got this like real weird thing going on now with my sinuses. All right. But anyways, no. So this is the last thing I'm going to say about it. I'm reading from the chat now. As far as the best way to experience Tales of Fantasia, I believe the general consensus is the PS1 version is the best way overall. Or I think there's a PSP version, and that one reads high too. I know the GBA is the literal worst port, but it's what I had on hand at the time. And you kind of get used to the garish, oversaturated color palette eventually. Yeah. So, Looney, my one of my favorite experiences was playing Lunar Legends. And I don't know if you ever played Lunar Legends. Um, I'd be hard pressed to say it was my favorite JRPG for a lot of reasons, but it was one that I look back on very fondly. And it was a very ambitious and weird port of Lunar Silver Star story. It changed a lot of how that story went, especially towards the beginning. And rather than anime cutscenes, it literally just did still frames of those cutscenes. There was no singing, there was no voice acting, and it was turn based, so you didn't have the same weird little like semi-tactical battles that you did in the original. Well, I should say the PlayStation Saturn remake of Lunar. But it was at the time the most affordable way to play that story. It was the most affordable way to experience Lunar, and I didn't begrudge it that. I had just a childish wish that I busted PS1 Lunar, Super Silver Star Story, and the sequel out for my son to play. They're so good. Both of those are so good. 2 weeks ago. That's awesome. But I had a special joy in being able to play that game without paying the ludicrous amount that even then it was going for. That, and I didn't have my hands on any kind of PlayStation because they got stolen by a druggie. And so that just brought me joy being able to play that. Now I need to get my hands on another copy because I cannot find my original copy of Lunar Legends, so I'm gonna have to do that at some point. But I have been in arrears, not been speaking about the stuff from my game. So last game went really well. Again, I'll post the link to the first episode of the podcast, which is, well, the first recorded episode. There was like an episode before that is maybe lost, but whatever. Suikoden 2, which I hear is expensive on the secondhand market. Yeah, Suikoden 2 might be like just shy of $700 if you have a copy of that. That's in good shape with the jewel case and everything. I have a copy of Magic Knight Rayearth for Saturn, which my understanding is that son of a gun is something like $300 disc only, which is so dumb that's how expensive it is. Like, I like that game a lot. I would not pay that much for it. And it makes me angry that there are people who would. Like, the collector's market really ruined a lot of things about retro gaming. But that's another podcast that's another stream for another time. Where were we? So Sister Rose Claren, they won't run into her yet. The Veldin family, they won't run into them yet either. Maybe. Non-Veldins. Let's see. Let's see. Lady Hyacinth, they're about to meet. I think, was it here or somewhere else that somebody recognized that it was from like, I took the name from Keeping Up Expectations, which is a British show, and if you've ever watched it, it's like one of my favorite shows. It's so ridiculous, but it's so good. Let's see. But Lady Hyacinth is nothing like Hyacinth on the show, like at all. According to economics, it's valued at what someone will pay for it. Yeah, that's how economics works, all right. But I don't know. The Sega Saturn is a real problematic machine to own unless you're willing to modify it. But that's, again, another conversation for a different time. A more elegant console for a more civilized era. Let's see. So Lady Hyacinth we've talked about a lot. They're going to meet her next time. Fandelia Casverin. That's going to be... Smells like shellac. So she's going to be the Drakari that they will meet at some point, which I swear to God, I hope no one's listening and getting all of these secrets. Mercurius Deltor, a weird orc. Unfortunately, I completely missed out on GBA Lunar. This is from the chat. By the time I found out it existed, I already owned Silver Star Harmony, which is not like the absolute best version of Lunar, but it's serviceable if a bit way too easy still was. It was Lunar, you could play on the Porcelain Throne, and that has to count for something. I still need to play that one. But Looney, in your opinion, would you say that the original Lunar Silver Star on PlayStation / Saturn is better than Silver Star Harmony, or would you go so far as to saying Lunar CD is even better? Because that game has been remade backwards and forwards, and the less we say of Lunar Dragon Song, the better. All right, Galvanus Breston. Galvanus already just sounds like a Transformers name. Galvanus Breston. Guardsman, turn to Space Marine Scout. Yeah. Interesting. All right. So yeah, Galvanus they're not really likely to run into, but let's see. We figured out that one of the Veldens is Commissar Luke. So Galvanus Preston is being chased down by Commissar Luke. Guess it was 2 M's. All right. I didn't bold all of the Velden names. Commissar Luke. I need to add another Velden somewhere in there. Let's do that right now. There's an Inquisitor. There's a Mechanicus. Let's do a Space Marine. Roderick Thusalar Velden III. A Space Marine. No, actually, yeah. A Space Marine. Is he an Ultramarine? No. Which chapter? Question mark. That is the pride of the Velden family and has been promoted to a leadership position. I know there's a lot to this that I need to read up on to know the proper terminology and so on. Within his chapter and is helping with various dangerous and large scale issues facing the Gilead system. May be more likely to run into group during more dangerous missions and or when they reach higher rank / tier. Roderick himself is pure, decent, just, but also easily swayed by his emotions. Has not gotten himself into trouble, but only due to luck. Might get along with Sister Rose. From the chat, yes, I'd say the PS1 Saturn Lunar is a better game. It's less pretty, but the battles are not a total cakewalk. Silver Star Harmony apparently has a problem with the coding of the boss's attack patterns where they only flail around and make the dumbest possible choices. Every once in a while they go berserk and one-shot you, but it's a rare occurrence. Well, that's interesting. I mean, Lunar Silver Star's story was really hard. Like, the difficulty curve of it went like super high. And I feel like some of the latter parts of that game were just like heal, attack, heal, attack, heal, attack. Alright, let me just make sure that no one's trying to message me. I'm not missing something. Okay, sorry. Just double checking, making sure. Alright, so we've made a new Veldin, Roderick Thusalar, Veldin the Third, so we're just going to add a little note in there. Is the heir apparent of the family, may be able to procreate with DNA sample created before his space marine conversion. Because that's important for the family. They're like, we want to continue the line. Obviously, the not the Inquisition, the Imperium isn't going to be like, oh yeah, we'll allow a space marine to have a child. No, not really. But they were able to let him do that before he became a space marine. I don't see why that wouldn't be allowed. Although they might wait until he dies before they do that. Or just not tell him. As far as the Eternal Blue, I prefer the Mega CD version, but more out of sentimental value. Again, reading from the chat. Sentimental value than any objective reason. Eternal Blue Complete is totally a superior game, and I can live with that. And take that L. I intend to... Someday I'm going to play both. Someday I'm going to play the Mega CD version of both those games. But I've never played any version of Eternal Blue all the way through. I played Eternal Blue like a little ways through once, but I've played every version of Silver Star except for Harmony. But I feel bad. I know Eternal Blue is a really good story. Something inside of me made me really upset with the fact that like Alex died and Athena, or no, Althena? Athena? I don't remember. I think it's Althena. Just kind of like went into, well, gosh, I guess that's spoilers. I shouldn't really be talking about that. Anyways, okay, so we're doing some little tweaking here, which is all that I feel like we need to do. Inquisitor Tremaine Hortense. Oh, Tremaine Hortense. I'm really looking forward to doing stuff with that. Althena, yeah. Something in my brain wanted to say Palutina, but then that's obviously Kid Icarus, and then it just made me even more confused. So let's see. Beats, introductions, tell story. So I think I can delete this. I've done all of this already. Second session. So things to remember. Group knows that Dark Elves want to create their own god. They are trying to fuck with the warp to do it. Might be a plot element later. There was something else that I thought I needed to make a note of. Oh, and then Elven Soulstone may play a part. Cool. Okay, second session, aggro. So we're just going to say third session. Aggro World of Ostia group meets Lady Hyacinth, who has the second fragment of the map. So yes, all of this stuff still is okay. I still need to do homework and look up the demon, which it's good because I was totally unprepared last time. I might just have to do this right after the stream today and look up all, like, do the homework because I've been meaning to do all this homework. Let's see, squad of loyal cultists with 1 psyker and 4 guardsmen. Okay. All of this stuff still stands to reason, still is viable. Let's see, if murder solved, then create Space Hulk that belong to Tau. Okay. Cool. And I don't know how long next session is going to take, but this is just the plan. So session 4 will be the Space Hulk thing, and I've got a lot of stuff planned for that, and it should be really fun. I would always mix up Althena with Velna from Valis. My brain would always associate the two, like, yes, magic chick from 18 or 16-bit CD game. Blue hair, kind of a douche. Yep, totes the same character. That makes sense. And then, of course, my brain would sometimes confuse Althena with Athena from Caballeros del Zodiaco, and so, or Saint Seiya. Let's see. All right. Where were we? So, Imperial ship. I think I'm going to take out the Imperial ship. And I'm going to have Lady Hyacinth give them a ship. And it's going to be her old ship. And then there's not, I don't have to make an excuse for why the artificial intelligence didn't just bug out. Okay. Just going to make a note. Group is given a ship by Hyacinth and runs into the Space Hulk on their way to a landmark that will help them get to the treasure. Alright. Also, for confusion, Saori is kind of a standoffish douche throughout the Galaxian War and 12 Houses arc. Yeah. I mean, that was always the saddest thing to me, is that she started out being like very standoffish and like very bold, but then she quickly just turned into a princess in distress, and never went back. She just was that the entire time. Let's see. Digital Nightmare should be a lot of fun. Like, this Space Hulk could be 3 sessions. And very fun ones, too. But let's see what happens. Okay, more homework. Learn more about the Drukhari. How do they figure into the bigger question, or bigger picture? Why did the Dark Eldar raid that planet, and in such numbers? Answer: it was an ancestral Eldar holy world. They want to draw out some of the staunch craft world Eldari. Also, God creation. See above. Grievous Fremulon, rogue trader captain. All right, so that's it for that game. Klaus the gnome. We're gonna do some fun stuff here, actually. And Looney, you don't have to worry about not watching this part. You're totally cool for that. Just give me a moment while I figure this out, because I need to start developing this. Saudi becomes a lot more proactive during Hades, though. Big reveal, like, WTF, I had no idea she had it in her. Jesus. Well, given that the Norse thing was filler, was it not? Dang it. And if you're just tuning in, we are talking about anime while I'm doing some stuff here. Let's see. So Klaus the Gnome, Dragon of Nature, Nature's Dragon, Druid Circle. 2nd, 6th, 10th, 14th. Combat Wild Shape. And let's see. Let's go ahead and go a little higher. At 2nd level, you gain the ability to take the shape of a dragon. Your type, when you wild shape, you can change your type to be dragon, but your statistics otherwise reflect a beast of CR1 or lower. You are still bound to the limitations of wild shape, not... I guess wild shape is capitalized. Tied to CR, such as swimming and flying restrictions. You can assume this shape as a bonus action, and let's see, additionally, while you are transformed by wild shape, you can expend one spell slot. To regain... No. To breathe fire. The fire goes out in a 15-foot cone. Cone of, let's see, feet. And deals 2d6 damage per level of the spell slot used. Oh, actually, that's good. I have an idea. The spell level used also determines the size of the cone. Spell levels 1 through 3 are a 15-foot cone. 4 through 5 are a 30-foot cone. Let's see, actually, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6 are a 60-foot cone. And 6 through 9 are a... That seems appropriate. We'll do 2d8s as well. That seems reasonable. And I mean, if you're sacrificing a spell level to do this, like, that's kind of nutso. Let's see, you can, higher levels, you can adjust the damage type that the breath deals. All right, so I had something covering up the chat, so let's see what y'all think. Let's see, Saudi. Yeah, Asgard is Enemu only. Manga jumps straight from 12 houses to Poseidon to Hades. Yeah, and so yeah, the what is it? The Asgard arc really did just make Saori just. She was just a damsel. She was just in distress all of the entire arc, like the entire arc. That's why the Bronze Saints are all beat to shit at the start of Hades. Seiya and company literally went from battle to battle with near zero time to recover. They are literally about to drop dead from exhaustion, which also why they spend all the Hades sanctuary getting thrown around like rag dolls. All right, but Looney, this is for you. This whole thing about being able to turn into a dragon. Let's see. You can initially turn to a red dragon, gain fire resistance while you are in this form. So basically, you can turn into a dire wolf that just happens to look like a dragon and can breathe fire using spell slots, and you gain damage resistance relative to the type. Let's see, next time, this level, we'll have to figure out what 6th level gets you. Ooh, looks like Klaus is finally going to be able to breathe fire. So friggin' cool. Yeah, I'm playing with this, so if I end up scaling it back a little bit, don't be mad at me, but this should be interesting. And in fact, maybe I'll do 1 through 3, 4 through 6. 5, let's see, 4 through, let's just do 4 through 5. 6 through 7, and then 8 through 9 is 120 feet. I think that's fair. I think that's definitely fair. Alright. Plus, I think 68. Yeah. I think this all tracks with everything that you can do at these given levels. Dragorum intensifies. Yes. So I'll have to do some more planning on the side for what the actual game is going to be like, but eventually we're going to... I'm actually going to write these rules up and try and sell them. So we'll kind of go from there once we're done with that. Let's see. Still got to do a lot of stuff, but man, have I been busy. So we'll just like remember that this is a thing I have to do for the Demon the Fallen stuff. Wednesday, Dawn of Thay. We haven't played, and we didn't play last week. We didn't play the week before. So we're still working on that Canis Schematica, but that's fine. It's been fine. Let's see. Thursday game has been heating up like wild, so we're getting really good. We still need to do the high roll, low roll game. Let's see. Group fought a lesser lich and won. Befriended an earth shaker and got a ride to the golden city of Balgor. Next session will be all about entering the city and trying to evade the traps set by Zoliad, the Pontifex, and so on. May still run into cultists. Really need to read the Rise of the Rune Lords campaign for a refresher. So initially this game was meant to be this kind of weird parallel to Rise of the Rune Lords. Let's see, Klaus, this is from the chat. Klaus will be like, well, I once saw this guy with a funky lavender curly hair and dark glasses do it. Kept making the most awkward dad jokes. Kind of spooky as a dragon, though. Yeah. I'm telling you, you need to keep those little spectacles when you turn into a dragon. That's a rule. It's the law. So, alright. Yeah, I really need to pull out that book and start reading it. Next session, maybe start... yeah, so we might do that. We're not playing this week, so this time... Next week, Monday, when I do this stream again, we're not going to worry about this game because nothing will have happened, because there's just... Life happened, and we'll move on. Ask group to retrieve heart of the Murdersaurus. Merchant. Oh yeah, we never did that. Maybe we'll do that. Group finds itself back. Earthshaker. Yeah, we did that. A haunting is a lesser lich. Oh yeah. That was a really fun fight, even though they didn't finish it. Oh shoot! I totally forgot. Okay. 2 big things I forgot. Durotan gets a Staff of Power. Also, the group found a diary with a circle of power that can restore the city. Maybe. Chad Mummy Lord versus. Okay, no, that was a joke we did at one point, but the joke is over. For future, showdown in ancient elven palace preserved by dimensional anomaly. Shantico, the mortals, Oliad, and group will fight. Fourth corner is Pontifex. That should be really, really fun. I need to send out a message to everybody saying that, hey, Duratan has a Staff of Power. I'm going to do that right now because I know I will forget otherwise. Duratan, you found a Staff of Power on where the ghost wizard was. I forgot to tell you. Okay. Spectacles and a band-aid for when your freakishly strong student Evans trashes your nose so hard it makes you bleed. Absolutely. Gertrude, I can delete that, I think. So hopefully Sam is not listening to this. Alright. Friday, Wilds Beyond Witchlight. We haven't played this in weeks. We haven't even started. And life keeps getting in the way. I really hope that this group of players knows what's what, and that Fridays aren't going to be too much of an impediment. Because I might recommend a hiatus, and it wouldn't be any hard feelings. But like this is a group of high schoolers. They used to be semi-steady, but it's been kind of not steady recently, and it might just be better to try and figure out like either a time that works for everybody, that there's not as many interruptions, because hey, they should spend their Fridays however they like, and not have to worry. But also, I know that they want to play, so we'll talk about that probably the next time we get together. Saturday, return to Chult. So yeah, last week, March 12th. Redo. We did a lot of the same, but group was able to find out more, met cool people, and are going to shoot. Where did we leave off on that game? Let's see, where did we leave off? So they were. Oh yeah. And made enemies. A Death Knight has been scry stalking them. They are working with 4 Harpers to warn a group of Sarials that they are being targeted by the forces of Sararak. Group is about to meet the Sarials. Okay. So that should be fun. I still need to include Camazots in some way. And yeah, read up on Omu. Yeah, I need to do that. Okay, y'all. Here's where it's going to get real serious. You see all this stuff with the Sunday? You see how I'm highlighting it? Except this bit about Count Bacula. We're keeping that. We're deleting all of this. All of the Sunday stuff. Because I've come to a conclusion that I don't want to run. And that's a much longer conversation, maybe for another time. I owe it to my players to be way more well, no, I owe it to myself. But I owe it to my players to like talk to them about it, so I'm not just gonna like go on a rant about why. But suffice to say, I'm done. I'm done with the Sunday game. I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with how it's being met. That doesn't apply to everybody who was in it, but I think it's safe to say that the 9 people group that started it when we were doing a really kick-ass Eberron group isn't there anymore, and not enough of them are there to make me want to continue doing it. We started with the intention of doing a 20 level campaign, and we've gotten a little over halfway through. If I knew what I know now, 3 months ago, I would have ended the campaign on a much higher note. Like I would have made a big, huge, exciting session where they would have beaten a god, because that's exactly what they did. But that would have been the end. That would have been the crescendo. Let's see. See, now you need to do the I am inevitable thing. Snap your fingers and make lore about how you unmade that universe from the Sunday game. Maybe. Except like there's no one in there plucky enough to be an Iron Man, I suppose. But let's see. I'm not going to talk a lot about it. Done for now. I talked a lot about it over the last few sessions. I talked streams. I talked a lot about it on the special stream that I did, planning to bring it back, and I'm done. I'm just done with it. And like, some of you know why. Some of you have been to the streams, and if not, like, I can talk about it next week. But I'll have a conversation with my players and kind of go from there. If you want to ask any questions about it, I'm open to them, but I'm just not going to go on a huge rant about it at this moment. But that's it. Those are my games. There are maybe some announcements about what's coming soonish, and I might consider replacing it with something and inviting some of the players back, but we'll talk about that a different time. And again, I don't want to like really be like, it makes me feel bad that y'all are hearing about it before my players are, and whatever, it's not a big deal. We'll figure it out. Did I post a tweet with the link to my podcast? Don't think that I did. Nope, I did not. So let's do this, because I do apologize for all of the kind of start and stop streaming that I'm doing. Good for you. Taking it off the table is basically self-care. Yeah, that's what I realized. Like, I wasn't happy with it, and I wasn't going to force it across the finish line. we weren't gonna play it for another year, and the people that I was really trying to like go out of my way to make happy aren't even there. So whatever. No, see, that's where I show up and tell you I am Iron Tran. Aren't you supposed to stop me and take the gems and stuff? Nah, snap it, snap away. That's hilarious. Need to be, yeah. Well, that I appreciate that joke about it because that's hilarious. Oh, let's see. I just need to find the stupid link to the stupid things that I could do the dealie and post it to the chat. But while I'm looking for this link to the podcast that I did for my 40K game, it is now time for Dungeons and Dragons and questions and answers. So if y'all have questions, please ask, and I will do my best to answer them. Ask about whatever you want. Ask about the Sunday game if you want to kind of poke that bear. Ask about the settings that I run, or about D&D in general, or my opinions of JRPGs. Probably my favorite JRPG is Phantasy Star 4. That's not a popular opinion. It's not a hot take, but I think people understand that it's a good game. Like, I don't know why. It's mine. How's daylight savings treating you? I'm sleepy. How's your Eberron? All right. So hold on while I look for this link. But I heard your question and I will address it. As far as the daylight saving time, I'm fine. It's not a big deal. I stayed up and was awake when it happened, and I think that helped maybe a little bit. I don't know that for sure. Let me see. How do I? Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what is the easiest way for me to do this. Actually, this might be a little bit silly, but bear with me now. Appears out of nowhere, refuses to stop the apocalypse, refuses to elaborate, disappears. My arc in the nutshell. I approve. All right, sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out. So yeah, I'm totally fine regarding the um, I'm fine regarding the time shift. Well, no. Paste. I guess that was super easy. Much easier than I thought it would be. Copy, we'll just delete it. Alright, y'all. For those of you in the chat, here is the link to the Warhammer 40k. I'll put it in the Twitch video, whatever, after we're done. I'll put it on the YouTube daily when I upload this to YouTube, which might be sooner than later, just so that I can have that out there. Anyway, so the more important question is, how's my Eberron? We actually played a really elaborate Eberron game about the time it came out. And this my same dungeon master, so how's my Eberron? I played Eberron when it first was introduced. And God, I can't remember when that was. I want to say it was like 2005. All right, your response to the key question of the day makes my queue fair game. What makes Phantasy Star 4 my favorite? I'll talk about that in a second. But let's see. I played Eberron when it was first introduced. Loved it. Very cool setting. Very given to RP. RP meaning role playing versus like combat and so on. Let's see. Started as a weird dungeon crawl, but ended up very cool. The origin of my character named Liali. And I can't remember. I'll have to look it up, but it was like Liali orc blood, but she was a human raised by orcs. And she was like a war sorceress, kind of neat. But I really like that character. But for reasons not having to do with the setting, I kind of fell away from that campaign because I kind of felt like it wasn't as fun, and I wasn't able to engage in the RP. And some of that were the other players at the table. Uh, whoops, yeah. Running Eberron was a blast. I was able to incorporate many of the settings themes. The players loved it, really dug into the magic tech punk aspect. Had a grand old game all about the Yellow King and him trying to subvert a demon lord to his vessel. So that game was like a grand tour of the Forgotten Realms. The characters went everywhere. They met a bunch of people. They ran into all kinds of like quasi-famous personalities. There was a lot of Cthulhu, Lovecraft elements that I started to tie in. It was great. I loved the game. Everybody loved the game. It was a blast. It was just a really good time. And that was the shame of it. Like, we started with 8 people, we ended with 9 people, and people just loved the game, and it was a great experience. I want to run Eberron again, but I need to put some time between my Eberrons, because I want that sensation. I want that like campaign to live by itself a little bit, to breathe before I go back to it. But man, I tried to run another Eberron game contemporaneously, and it kept falling apart, so I gave up on that. But I love what people do with Eberron. I think they treat it kind of like a more pulpy game, a little bit more like Indiana Jones meets Sherlock Holmes. And it's just super cool. If you've ever watched the anime Steam Boy, a lot of that kind of comes to mind, and a lot of things that are in that kind of vein. There's like elements of Kiki's Delivery Service, just the meshing of magic and steampunk kind of coming together just is a really excellent take. And I could very easily see Final Fantasy VI taking place in Eberron. In fact, there are places that would resemble the World of Ruin very easily. So I would love to run Eberron again. Might wait a while though. Love it to death. Eberron is really cool. It's a really cool setting. And I can't say enough for how much I like Eberron. To do so, I guess I could say. Okay, next question. What makes Phantasy Star 4 my favorite? Nostalgia is a big part. This the setting is wonderful. Very similar reasons that I love Eberron. Mix of magic and tech are fantastic. Great and well realized characters. Comic book style cutscenes are amazing. Very excellent storytelling, not afraid of taking risks. And I don't want to spoil anything, so I'll just say that. I have in fact seen Steam Boy. In fact, I owned it on UMD. Wow. What else did you own on UMD, Looney? I think for a very short period of time I had like, did I have Iron Monkey on UMD, or was it like Legend. I can't remember. There was something kind of hokey that I owned on there. And if it was Iron Monkey, then I take that back because Iron Monkey is far from hokey. But if it was like, no, I remember it was it was something like the Golden Emperor, some corny kung fu movie, but it was not. It was not Iron Monkey. I love Iron Monkey. It's my favorite kung fu movie of all time. But anyhow, so let's see. Hold on, y'all, because I forgot that I have champagne, and I'm going to add it to this cranberry juice. I'll be right back. I am back, and I am forced to borrow another bottle. Let's see. So I was talking about Phantasy Star 4. Not afraid of taking risks. Fantastic soundtrack. Great graphics. Also tied up the Phantasy Star series very nicely. Excellent combat. Bosses always felt the right amount of difficulty. Also, first in the series to not be a ball bustingly tough grind up. See, I own like Spider-Man 2 came with the PSP. Oh yeah, I remember that. Kill Bill Volume 1. One of those horrible Resident Evil movies and Steam Boy. Back in the day, it felt like living in the future watching movies on my PSP while traveling on the bus. Yeah, I could see that being the case. But, I mean, I can't say enough about why I love Phantasy Star 4. Everything about it is fantastic. It was the first Phantasy Star game that didn't feel like it was punishing you for liking it. I had played Phantasy Star 2. Really, really dense for a rental. But even if I had bought it, man, that would have been. It would have just been punishment, like worse than the road leading up to the final boss on Dragon Quest 2. I played Fantasy Star 3 and got pretty far, but again, as a rental, it was impenetrable, and the anxiety that I got with trying to figure out who to marry and the kind of like children that you would have over the course of playing Phantasy Star 3 with 2 whole save slots, that was not fair. That was like not even remotely fair. And so it was very difficult to decide how to play that game. I did finally emulate it and play it, but like the last dungeon, I finally gave up and turned encounters off. I think I've said this before. PS4 is also like the first one not to have a downer ending. Yeah, absolutely. Can't remember if the first one had a downer ending, but no, the first one was fine. 2 was a super downer ending. 3 was real weird. 3 was like it was like all of the joke endings of Silent Hill 1 through 3 put together. Everything was just like weird and nebulous. Just very interesting. One of them you end up at Earth. One of them you run into another colony. One of them, God, I don't even remember. Um, I think one of them you just like. It depends on which of the endings you got on Fantasy Star 3. I wouldn't call them necessarily like one of them was a downer ending, but I wouldn't call them all downer endings. But still, Fantasy Star 4 was probably the most hopeful of those games, and it felt like an epic story. It didn't feel like Fantasy Star 2, where I mean, 2 is technically not a Bolivian army ending, but you need to buy a drama CD to find that out. I wanna hear more about that, Looney, because man, I need that closure. I really do. Um, but yeah, I mean, I hope I've really explained why I love Fantasy Star 4. Like I did play Final Fantasy 6 and I did play Chrono Trigger before I played Fantasy Star 4. But like for some reason 4 just hooked me. It just got me, and I tried so hard to get everybody I knew to play it, and they just all resisted, and they never did. To this day, my friend group from back then has not played Fantasy Star 4. I I did everything short of offering them money to play this game because I wanted to talk to someone so badly about how much I love this game. And then it took me like a good 15 years to find someone who appreciated this game, even slightly as much as I did, at the video game store. The gist of it is that the party makes it out all right, and Rolf even becomes an important political figure in Paseo, from what I can remember. Well, that's good. But yeah, the way that they leave it is just, whew, it's a real Breath of Fire 4 ending. Goodness gracious, that game. Great game, but that ending, let's just say the ending. Ugh. Okay. Any other questions? I've gone on, and I've only just gotten a few sips of champagne. Champagne. So please ask your questions. Inquire within. No further questions, Your Honor. All right. Let's see. I'm. This is the part of the stream where I'm going to taunt the people in my chat that are probably bots. If you're not a bot, please say so now, or forever hold your bot. As far as 3, the Earth ending is supposedly the canon one, with the descendants of the ship being humans from 2, because time shenanigans. Which, yeah, black pill to the max. I don't remember what black pill means. But anyways, it can't be descendants of the ship being humans from 2. I got questions. Yeah, please ask away. Oh, those humans. That's so weird. But I don't know. I don't buy it. So, Looney, to your question, and I'll write this down to make it nice and official. What is my favorite part of preparing a session? Or I guess preparing for a session. And my favorite part ever is coming up with a kick-ass idea. Sometimes that happens while planning. And Looney, you might have seen this happen more often than not, but I'll get like this really amazing idea and I'll run with it and I'll incorporate it, and all of a sudden I'll have 10, 15 sessions worth of planning done just from that one idea of being like, oh my god, this ties in this thing from this other thing. Oh my god, I can use this thing that I did in another game and bring it right into this game. Or like, I can create this villain that's going to be really amazing and they're not even going to know who it is, but I'm going to totally put this in here. Sometimes this happens while planning. Sometimes it happens during the game. Sometimes I'll just get a wild idea while I'm running the game and be like, okay, here's this NPC who's going to come and talk to you about this thing because I just literally just thought of this idea and I want to have it be a thing right now. Sometimes I get a great idea in the car, middle of the night, at work. Just out of nowhere, I'll get an idea of like, oh my god, this is the coolest idea I had for this thing that's going to be in the game. Amazing. And I'll do my best to stop everything and write it down. Because if I'm doing it during the session, it's a little trickier. I might be able to write a note, and then all of a sudden later I'm looking at a note that says black hole moon blasters, and I'm like, what the fuck was I talking about? Or I'll be at work or in the car, and I might even like, if I'm in the car, I'll like record a note on my phone by speaking, like, you know, like a tape recorder kind of, using that function so that I can remember it later. Or if it's in the middle of the night, I will get up and sit at my computer and write that idea down, because if it's that good, it's worth doing that. And some of my best ideas for entire game campaigns have come from that. From waking up in the middle of the night and being like, oh my god, I have a really good idea. So that's my favorite part, and it's nothing I can control. It's nothing that I like plan to do. Black pill stuff is like depressing things and such like. Okay, I get it. But yeah, I can never plan to come up with great ideas, but doing what I do right now helps. Like it will bring those ideas to the surface more often, even if it happens after the fact, or it will help me have like a catalog of ideas that I have thought, so that I can combine those ideas at a later date, or go back and like just remember a thing, or like be able to like cross-reference things that I have done, so that either I don't repeat something unnecessarily, or if I want to go back to something as a callback in the middle of the game, that I can do that. But yeah, that's, again, that like burst of inspiration happens, but I can't make it happen. But I can create a good environment in which it happens. Really like getting insights into your creative process. Thank you, Looney. All right. Anybody else? Any bots? Any peoples who might want to ask a question? Hey, bots. If you're bots in my chat, do you want to do your bot thing and like promote someone else's channel, or like, you know, ask people to do diet pills or something? I dare you. Otherwise, how is everyone? I should have asked that at the top of the hour, or at the top of the stream. I hope y'all are doing alright. How do you feel about 5e shifters? I feel like shifters need something else. Shifters need I'm glad, Eli. I'm glad you're good. Shifters need something else, like they need to have a feat to make them better. Kind of like how Drow have that feat that makes them like noble, so that they have more spells, like how the Drow and the Salvatore books do. Itchy banhammer finger. But yeah, I feel like shifters aren't quite as exciting as they were in the original Eberron, and they need to have a little bit more kind of to them. But yeah, I would give them, like, there would be a feat that you could take at a later level that would bolster your shifting ability and make you just a little bit more ferocious. Um, just depending on what you wanted to do, and maybe it would even be several different feats that would be like, okay, I'm a fast type animal. Maybe you're like a cheetah, or I'm a bear shifter, and so it makes you like, tougher and stronger. And it wouldn't have to be like overpowering. It would probably be kind of a small feat tied with a +1 strength, +1 whatever. But in essence, it would just make you more of a shifter. It would make you more animalistic. And I think that's something that's lacking. As it is, it just feels kind of like a tacked on, um, like a minor ability that doesn't really impact who you are. And I think there need to be shifter feats that would make it worthwhile for you to be like, I don't know, a shifter wizard or a shifter ranger over just being like a shifter rogue or fighter, because that's just what you would be good at from having like your shifter abilities. Why not just something that unlocks at a level like the newer races are doing? I'd be fine with that too, but I would still do the feat, I think. In fact, I would probably do both. I'm alright, reading from the chat, Looney. I'm alright doing my nails while I listen. These MFers are taking forever to dry, and typing on the phone one-handed is an adventure, let me tell you. Oh yeah. I believe it. But yeah, I'd be cool if shifters were a little bit more like tieflings or Isomar, because tieflings and Isomar get some really cool things. Or if they brought them in line a little bit more with what do you call them, the Genasi or Genasi, however you say that, but the elemental races. Because I think shifters deserve that. They need to be a little bit more exciting, because they're not just humans who can grow fangs. Or at least they shouldn't be. I'm sorry, I'm just finishing the last of my dinner. Temp HP and a free skill. Yeah, that's good. I don't know that that really screams shifter though. Plus temp HP as a racial feature, really useful at the first 2 or 3 levels. Not really, almost at all after that. So it kind of feels like a waste. Meanwhile, I want to say hill dwarves get a whole extra hit point per level, in addition to anything else that they get. So, as a as a race feature, I should be writing this down. How do I feel about 5e shifters? They need more oomph, maybe a feat, and base features that unlock at level ups, like ASMR and T. Temp, HP are sorta okay, not as good as, for instance, Hill Dwarf HP increase. Because if that's the benchmark, if you can look at a race and say, hey, that race is tough and gives you a whole extra hit point per level, on top of the tough feat, on top of being a barbarian, on top of having a high constitution, that's how you get the highest hit point in the game. 10 hit point is level plus con mod, so it does scale and it's per short rest. Okay. Yes, maybe I underestimated it a little bit, so it might take you through level 5. But just think about the things you might fight at, like, let's say level, I don't know, 8. And at that point, you can have a plus 5 con mod, plus your level is 8, is 13. That's not gonna do a lot. And even per short rest, it's not really, like, yes, I guess it's okay, but that's, like, versus an 8th level dwarf that has an extra 8 hit points tacked onto whatever they have that can be healed. Plus, they can receive temp hit points from other sources. Because temp hit points almost never stack. I guess the closest thing to it is Second Wind. Well, think about what if you had Second Wind. And that would be a thing. Like, you always have to think about these things together. So, like, if you had Second Wind and this ability, that would be pretty good. But you couldn't use your Second Wind to heal those hit points that you have. So once they're gone until you get a short rest. Versus your Hill Dwarf, he could Second Wind those hit points back. Like, temp hit points are good, but they're not great. And again, because temp hit points come from so many different sources, once you got them from one source, you kind of don't want them from another source unless they're more. And so it's more, honestly, to me, it feels more limiting than not. It's decent. I think if I was going to play, let's just say, a shifter wizard with the abjuration hit points, that would be kind of neat. And that would be a really good way to bolster those in a weird way. But I mean, I think it's less empowering. It's less like you got your dwarf with your extra hit points that could apply to anything, fighter class, sorcerer class, whatever. The temp hit points almost kind of funnels you into certain kinds of builds, for it to mean anything. That's me. I mean, that's just my take on it. But I think if I was going to do a shifter, I would maybe either replace that with something or make it an option. Like if you were going to be like a bear type or like a wolf type or something, but then make it opt into something else if you're like a fox type or if you're like a, you know, I'm just looking at them in D&D Beyond. They get 10 points twice per short rest. When you shift, you get 1d6 10. Well, let me just look so that I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so size. You got dark vision. That sounds pretty standard. Okay, long tooth. Yeah, that's fine, but walking speed increase. No creature can. Well, those are interesting. But I still am not wild about the 10 hit points. It says something different under shifting. Let me see. Okay, so 10 hit points equal to your level plus your con mod. Additional benefits. 1d6. Okay, so if you are a beast hide, then you get 1d6 additional temporary hit points. It's fine. But I still think that they should get a feat that makes them like better. Like I want it to matter. Because, like, for instance, the Longtooth, they get a bite attack that does 1d6 plus strength modifier. Now that the new books have come out, that's standard for, like, all these other races. And that doesn't feel as special. Turtles, they get their armor class. Lizard folk get, like, a slew of abilities in addition to their bite attack. And they can bite as a bonus action. So I don't know. I would just think about doing it slightly different. I guess the Longtooth can do it as a bonus action too. Anyways, I would have to think about it, but like absolutely 100%, I would give them a feat that would make their abilities better. Whether the feat was specifically tied to whatever their subrace was and just added to it, maybe it would increase the bite attack damage. Maybe it would give them something in addition to their it would increase their walking speed even more. It would increase their dark vision more. It would give them the ability to shift an additional time per short rest or whatever. But those are just some ideas that I would toss around for a feat regarding the shifters. Either way, like I think they're fine. Ultimately, I have had players play shifters, but like just having seen shifters in the original Eberron and third edition, like I feel like they were a little bit more impressive, a little bit more interesting. But anyways, that's my answer. I hope that at least established my thought process on that. They had that new car smell. Maybe they did. We're almost at 2 hours. We're about 5 minutes shy. Does anyone else have any questions? I feel like we had a pretty good, productive planning today. We had a lot of really good questions. There's a lot of games that have been like on this weird hiatus. I can save mine for next week if you want. Yeah, if you want to. Do you want me to write them down so that we remember and we address them next week, or will you? Do you have them written down somewhere? Excuse me. Um, but as long as we're talking about it and kind of winding down, maybe, I want to thank my two loyal viewers, one of whom is my very loyal moderator. So thank you, Looney. Thank you, Eli. I hope we get more people to come by and watch. We've had some very interesting, very cool kind of mixed streams where sometimes we get like 14 people in. Sometimes we get many fewer than that, but all of my streams are really cool and really chill, and we get a lot done. You can ask right now, and you can tackle it next week and stuff. That sounds fantastic. I am ready to write these down for let's just call it episode 20. Questions. I'm really trying to figure out if there's something I can do about the presentation of this. I think I like this better than I had it set up, because I get to do the question of the day over here, and that works out really well. And this is way more readable than how I used to have it when I was doing it off of Evernote. And it just works so much better, like being able to use the capabilities. I'm not trying to like talk up Google Docs, but this seems to work fine enough. But I want to see if I can like turn it into parchment or make it look like really neat, like I've seen some other podcasts do. I can let's see. But yeah, I wanna improve the presentation and maybe even make a unique frame that uses kind of the games for you logo, but we'll see. Only problem I have is sometimes your typing isn't displayed. Yeah, the one disappointing thing is I might be doing something like down here, and then you won't see it unless I scroll up. And so I try to be mindful of like what I'm typing versus what's being seen on the screen, because I do have both screens up, so I can see what's going on, but sometimes I'm not paying attention and I don't type it out on screen. So I try and do as much as I can to do it that way. So have you played this TTRPG where DM abuses the players constantly and is like a satire sci-fi setting? I think it's called Paranoia. And what's your take on it? I have a lot to say about that. Questions. Have you played Paranoia? And the answer to that very briefly is no, but I want to talk about human occupied landfill. And human occupied landfill is one of the best role playing games, TTRPGs, ever written on cocktail napkins. And we'll talk way more about that next time. But I played it, it was a blast. It was abusive. It was sci-fi, and it was real dumb and real fun. I think Human Occupied Landfill was like the spiritual prototype to the Fiasco game, and we'll talk about that too. Fiasco-esque, and we will go all into that business next time. But very, very amazing question, very interesting and whatnot. Oh, hey TK, how's it going? How are you doing? I'm very sad we are about. Well, actually, let me open this up, TK. We are actually on our question and answer time. We're at 2 hours, and I was going to stop. But do you have perhaps a Dungeons and Dragons or other tabletop role playing game related question, and I will answer it. I don't want to sell you short. Just as you show up to the to the chat, to the stream. Oh right, yeah, Hole. That's the one. There's Hole, and then somehow or another they decided to do a kind of expansion to Hole called Wholesome. No, I meant undo. Wholesome buttery goodness. And it wasn't the only game at the time that was where you could die during character creation, but the fact that you could die during the character creation of Human Occupied Landfill was amazing. Like, it was the funniest thing. And to be completely honest with you, making a character was about as fun as playing the game, which you can't say that about many games. Just creating a character was a load of fun. But yeah, we played Hole. I should really run Hole again. Not sustainable for long-term campaigns, but fantastic for like one or two. Like really, really good, really amazing. We'll talk more about that next time. Because I don't want to sell that question short and just give it a little bit of time. But TK, thank you for coming. I really appreciate your presence as always, as ever. I don't know if you were at Sojaro's stream, but I hope that was a good time, and I'm sad that I missed it. But tell me if you have a question. I'd love to answer any question you may have about stuff. I remember hearing about Hole way back in 1994, 1995 on Comic Quest, and I thought it sounded like the most fun thing ever. It is. And the funniest thing is, like, so God, no. I'm not going to talk about it just yet. GM Chris Hits did great job. Talk about how he was a jerk, but that was the point. So yeah, we've had a lot of questions, a lot of very good questions, like where did my name come from? And how is my Eberron game? And what was my favorite JRPG? And I talked about Phantasy Star 4 because it is my favorite game of all time, of the 1 through 32-bit era. I guess 8 through 32-bit. I really didn't. There weren't really any JRPGs on the 4-bit that I know of. I don't know. Maybe that's a question for another time. Favorite part of preparing a session. Talked about that and how I feel about 5D shifters. But all right. But no, I don't want to put you on the spot, TK. If you think of a question, maybe we can answer it for you next time. Again, as always, I am glad that you were here. It is always cool to see a familiar face. But there we are. That was episode 19, and we are rounding it off with a really awesome and interesting question for next time. I am super happy that all of the people who were here were here. I am very happy that we were able to do. I just turned on the stream. Will, I went to go do dish. No, I know that feeling. I should probably scoot. Well, not Will. Yeah. Well, I went to go do dishes. Yeah, and I do that sometimes too. So I totally understand. Thank you for the view. Absolutely. And shoot, I was saying something. Yeah, so that was episode 19. Looking forward to episode 20. We talked about a lot of very interesting things, a lot of heavy subjects, especially the kind of dissolution of my Sunday game. But we'll kind of address that between now and next week, and maybe I'll have something to say about it. But there you all are. Thank you so much. We are going to sign off. We are going to go ahead and go. And things will be great, and I hope that y'all have a great week between now and then, and I hope that those of you who play role-playing games get to play the ones that you like and that you have fun. But there we are done, and I will now say my sign-off thing, which is, remember, I play and plan games for you.